You are watching the world 24/7 on the NDTV network. I am Parmeshwar Bava. We've got an action-packed bulletin lined up for you. Let's begin with the top headlines you need to know. US President Donald Trump has threatened higher tariffs on several countries unless they strike trade deals by the 1st of August. Trump has sent letters to major trading partners, including Japan, South Korea, dictating new blanket tariffs under extending the July 9 deadline for imposing his Liberation Day duties. The death toll from flooding in Texas has surpassed the 100 mark as officials face scrutiny over the adequacy of local warning systems. 5 million people remain under the flood watch. Leaders of the BRICS group of developing nations have called for reforms of global institutions and presented the bloc as a haven for multilateral diplomacy amid violent conflicts and trade wars. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has said that he has nominated US President Donald Trump for the Nobel Peace Prize. He described Trump's leadership of a just cause as he met Donald Trump at the White House. India's permanent representative to the United Nations has announced that India has abstained from voting on a UN Security Council resolution concerning Afghanistan, citing ongoing concerns about the use of Afghan territory by designated terrorist groups. Well, the latest coming in, even as he slapped fresh tariffs on 14 countries, the US President, Donald Trump, has said the country was close to making a trade deal with India. Trump has said, and I quote, "We made a deal with the United Kingdom, we made a deal with China. We're now close to making a deal with India," adding that letters stating fresh tariffs were sent out to other countries. His remarks came after he announced new trade measures with countries including our neighbor Bangladesh, Thailand, South Korea and Japan to come into effect starting the 1st of August. Listen in to the US President's latest remarks.
We've made a deal with United Kingdom. We've made a deal with China. We've made a deal. We're close to making a deal with India. Others we met with, and we don't think we're going to be able to make a deal. So we just send them a letter. If you want to play ball, you have to. This is what you have to pay. So as far as I'm concerned, we're done. We're sending out letters to various countries telling them how much tariffs they have to pay. Some will maybe adjust a little bit depending if they have a cause. We're not going to be unfair about it.
My colleague Rishabh Bhatnagar has been keeping a close eye on the key developments. He joins us live at the moment. Rishabh, so amid uncertainty over the conclusion of an interim trade deal with India, Trump is now saying that the US is close to making a deal with us amid fresh tariffs on 14 other countries?
Yep, that is exactly what has happened. India has managed to avoid being a part of that 14-country list on day one of these letters going out. But very clearly, a letter seems highly unlikely now, given that US President Donald Trump has made it very clear that the deal is very, very close. It's just a matter of time now about when this interim trade deal or this mini trade deal is announced as part of avoiding these reciprocal tariffs that have come in, very steep tariffs that came in yesterday as well, tariffs going as high as 40% on Laos as well as Cambodia. Also on other competing manufacturing economies, we're seeing Bangladesh getting about 35% tariffs. We're getting Thailand, Cambodia getting about 36% tariffs. So a very clear indication in terms of Trump saying, if you don't negotiate with us on our terms, that is what you get. We had the likes of developed economies like Japan and South Korea also being slapped with about 30% tariffs or 25% tariffs. That is something that also took place last night, and a very clear indication of whether if negotiations are stalled in terms of trade talks, a letter will be shot instantly. Doesn't matter how developed or how big an economy you are. So clearly, India clearly has reached some sort of a deal with Trump, and that will then be announced hopefully within the next couple of days.
Right. Rishabh, do stay on with us for the next update as well. Well, as Rishabh just touched upon it, Donald Trump has just slapped new tariffs on 14 countries, with some as high as 40%, as my colleague Rishabh Bhatnagar has also highlighted. Myanmar and Laos have taken the biggest hits, facing 40% tariffs. Others like Japan, South Korea, and Indonesia are also on the list. They are all part of what Trump calls a plan to fix unfair trade deals and protect US jobs. Trump sent letters to major trading partners, including Japan, South Korea, dictating new blanket tariffs. And these letters caused US stocks to tumble. They were also seen as a message to those countries where White House officials don't believe that trade talks are going particularly well. This is what a former trade negotiator has said. But the notices also deal a blow to hopes that Trump would scale back tariff threats and de-escalate a trade war, some experts argue. Just listen in to what Donald Trump and the White House had to say.
Are the tariff letters that you sent today final offers, or are they negotiable?
Well, that's final offer.
So South Korea, Japan should take it or
We're
leave
always
it?
subject to negotiate something that's fair, but we've talked to most of the countries, and pretty much they've had their way for many, many decades, as you know. And it was time that we just wanted fairness. This is not really equitable from our standpoint, because it's just a small token by comparison to the damage that's been done over the years. But we had no other president that was willing to do this. I did it in my first term with China and others. We took in hundreds of billions of dollars of tariffs. No inflation, the most successful period of time that we've ever had financially in the country. The first term. I think this term is going to be much better, even much better than that. That was the best ever, and this is going to be, I think, substantially better. And we're on the way to doing that.
There will be approximately 12 other countries that will receive notifications and letters directly from the President of the United States. And weeks ago, I stood at this podium and I told all of you that the President was going to create tailor-made trade plans for each and every country on this planet. And that's what this administration continues to be focused on. The President will also sign an executive order today delaying the July 9th deadline to August 1st. So the reciprocal tariff rate, or these new rates that will be provided in this correspondence to these foreign leaders, will be going out the door within the next month, or deals will be made. And those countries continue to negotiate with the United States. We've seen a lot of positive developments in the right direction, but the administration, the President and his trade team want to cut the best deals for the American people and the American worker.
Rishabh's still with us. Rishabh, so once again, it seems Trump is playing hardball and the markets have been jolted awake?
Yep, very aggressive letters, so to say, in the way no words have been minced in true Trump style as well. What we've seen is that it's a very direct call for companies for countries to actually move a lot of their high-end manufacturing back to the United States. That is how Trump and the Trump administration believes that a trade deficit, or rather the trade surpluses that it has with all these countries, with Japan, with South Korea, with Thailand, that's how he believes that an equitable trade scenario can be reached. And this is, he's also said that all these tariffs that he's slapped, be it 25% or be it 40%, all of them are still lower than what is required to actually balance out trade between the two countries. And he said that if countries and companies are willing, they will get approvals in a matter of weeks to shift manufacturing to the US. So very clear call with regards to this Make America Great Again slogan that the Trump administration has in terms of moving manufacturing and generating more jobs back in the US.
Rishabh, as always, thanks so much for joining us with those crucial details. Meanwhile, US stocks were losing ground in afternoon trading on Monday as the Trump administration stepped up pressure on trading partners to make deals before punishing tariffs imposed by the US take effect. Markets are giving a bit of a mixed response at the moment. US stock futures have slipped post the tariff announcement. Dow and S&P futures have slipped nearly 1%, while Asian markets have risen as investors assess Trump's tariffs. But Trump has warned any trade retaliation will be met with a US response. Staying with updates from America, in a dramatic White House moment, the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu surprised Donald Trump with a Nobel Peace Prize nomination letter and handed it to him on the spot. This move comes after Trump backed a ceasefire push between Israel and Iran following joint US and Israeli strikes on Iranian nuclear sites.
Thank you very much.
Netanyahu praised Trump's record on peace deals, from the Abraham Accords to recent efforts in the Middle East. Trump, clearly surprised, called the nomination very meaningful. Just listen in to the latest remarks from the White House.
It's nominating you.
Right now, the president is focused on today and to get the Hamas to agree to this ceasefire. I don't want to comment on the details of the arrangement out of respect for these negotiations, but a agreeable and appropriate ceasefire proposal has been sent to Hamas. And I can also tell you Special Envoy Witkoff intends to travel to Doha later this week, where he will continue to engage in these discussions.
Meanwhile, Netanyahu says he still plans to travel to New York City, despite the US Democratic Party's nominee for mayor of the city, Zoran Mamdani, pledging to arrest the Israeli premier, citing the International Criminal Court arrest warrant against him. When asked if he's concerned about Mamdani's pledge, Netanyahu told reporters before his dinner date with Trump that he's not concerned about that, and Trump assured Netanyahu that he would get Mamdani out. Switching tracks to the Prime Minister and his touchdown in Brasilia. Fresh off the BRICS summit in Rio, Prime Minister Modi kicked off his state visit to Brazil, greeted with a vibrant samba reggae performance and a warm welcome from Brazil's defense minister. He has called the Rio leg productive. He's praised the BRICS talks and his meetings with global leaders. Now in Brasilia, the Prime Minister is set for big talks with President Lula. This includes everything from trade and tech to defense, health and energy as well. And as far as the Indian diaspora is concerned, well, they are fired up to welcome him, as you can see through these visuals. They underline India's global push is in full swing. We spoke to an international relations analyst from Sao Paulo to understand the context, the importance and significance of this touchdown. Listen in.
Narendra Modi's visit to Brazil in the 2025 BRICS summit is marked by a very strategic milestone in India's global outreach and a calculated effort to reposition the bloc within this evolving multipolar order. It was the first official state visit by an Indian prime minister in many decades, and it came with substance. Agreements on trade. Also, we can't leave out renewable energy, agriculture, security cooperation. But I think that beyond the bilateral deliverables with Lula, Modi's presence, I think it sends a very important message that India intends also to lead the BRICS not only as a passive member, but as a pragmatic and autonomous actor committed to institutional reform and the demands of the global south. And I think also in this context, it's very important for the bloc that I think has this little, I think we could call it this autocratic face. A lot of people, especially people from Europe, in the United States, they say that that's how the BRICS bloc, it looks like a bloc that is formed by autocratic governments. It's very important that Brazil is there alongside with India as well as South Africa and give the bloc this more democratic dynamic.
Amid continued turmoil and confusion over his threats to tax foreign imports into US, President Donald Trump held out a new warning to any country aligning themselves with the anti-American policies of the BRICS bloc, as we had covered. You know that they will be charged an additional 10% tariff without exceptions. Over 4,000 people, including women and children from Myanmar, fled to Mizoram in the last few days and have now taken shelter in 2 locations of Champhai district. Mizoram's Champhai district officials have said that the refugees had started entering the state through areas of eastern Mizoram's Champhai district since the 3rd of July, following violence between 2 ethnic groups in the neighboring country. Sources have informed NDTV that the Chin National Defense Force and Chin Land Defense Force, both anti-military ethnic groups, were engaged in a series of gun battles between the 28th of June and the 5th of July over domination of territory. The Assam Rifles have now been guarding the India-Myanmar border and recently stepped up their security. We've got these details thanks to my colleague Ratnadeep Chaudhary. He joins us live at the moment for further clarity. Ratnadeep, what are the latest details you can disclose?
At this moment, what we have been given to understand by our sources in Mizoram government that since 3rd of July, at least 4,000 people who have entered in Mizoram. These are Myanmar nationals who have fled after the inter-ethnic group clashes between this the ethnic rebel groups which are there in the Chin state of Myanmar bordering Mizoram. Remember, the people in the Chin state of Myanmar and the Mizo people in Mizoram have got close ties, and therefore ever since the 2021 military coup in Myanmar and subsequent fights between the military junta and the anti-junta resistant forces in Myanmar, over 30,000 people have got displaced and they have taken shelter in Mizoram. They have been kept and in shelter homes in Mizoram, and civil society groups, Mizoram government have taken care of them. In fact, very recently Mizoram government had decided also to get their biometric details recorded, and amid all this, now there is this fresh influx. This, however, is between the infights between the Chin ethnic groups, particularly in terms of the control of the Chin state, and given the fact that the Chin state borders India, so whoever controls that area also controls the border trade, and therefore particularly in Champai districts, Jwar-Kathar, where you have the border gate between India and Myanmar, that is where the influx took place, and therefore security has been beefed up. Remember, Assam Rifles guards the porous Indo-Myanmar border, and therefore now the concerns for New Delhi and for the Mizoram government is this fresh influx, even as they prepare for getting the biometric record database for those who have been coming for the past couple of years.
Ratnadeep, as always, thank you so much for joining us with this crucial update. Meanwhile, the distance between Mizoram's Aizawl and West Bengal's Kolkata will be shortened by 700 kilometers by the year 2027, as India, with the help of Myanmar, will be able to operationalize the Kaladan Multimodal Transit Transport Project by then. This is what Shipping Minister Sarbanand Sonowal has said. The KMMTTP will be India's alternative to the chicken's neck and help bypass Bangladesh. Our shipping ministry has invested 1,000 crore rupees in developing the waterways of the project, while other agencies are taking care of the rest.
And Kaladan River on 59 kilometer up to Palatwe, and from there to the Indian border Mizoram. So 110 kilometers like on a road part that is under construction. By 2027 it will be completed. So definitely entire out of the Act East policy announced by Honorable Prime Ministers. The target is very clear. We should make all the available opportunities properly explored so that a northern region can be accessible to the global market.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to resource-rich Namibia this week reflects New Delhi's desire for more critical minerals, analysts are arguing. During this trip, which follows Prime Minister Modi's stop in Ghana last week, Prime Minister Modi is expected to discuss access to critical minerals, uranium supplies and the diamond trade. Flash floods in Texas have killed more than 100 people over the 4th of July holiday weekend and left others still missing, including girls attending a summer camp. The devastation has drawn a massive search effort as officials face questions over their preparedness and the speed of their initial actions. The floods grew to their worst at the midpoint of a long holiday weekend when many people were sleeping. Survivors have described the floods as a pitch black wall of death and said they received no emergency warnings. Israel's defense minister has laid out plans to force all Palestinians in Gaza into a camp on the ruins of Rafah in a scheme that legal experts and academics described as a blueprint for crimes against humanity. Israel Katz said he has ordered Israel's military to prepare for establishing a camp, which he called a humanitarian city, on the ruins of the city of Rafah as per reports. Palestinians would go through security screening before entering, and once inside would not be allowed to leave, Katz has said at a briefing. Israeli forces would control the perimeter of the site and initially move 6 lakh Palestinians into this area. Switching tracks, Axiom 4, the mission, is currently underway. It's been nearly 2 weeks since Shubhanshu Shukla was at the International Space Station. Just take a look at this latest video that Axiom has released.
Grace crew, welcome aboard the International Space Station.
The best part about being a commander on a mission with all rookies is you get to watch the rookies go through it for the first time.
For me, as an engineer and a scientist, this is an ultimate scientific laboratory where we come to do science, to test our technologies of our countries, to do technology demonstrators and science outreach that I can't wait to do.
And my heart is so full right now because of you guys and because of seeing Earth for the first time.
And it is a privilege to be amongst the few who have got the chance to see the Earth from a vantage point that I have been able to see now. It has been a wonderful ride.